access points.
You have 5 in that women's center.
We haven't put those in yet. Yes, it'd be 5 more there.
We installed a 45 access point network, and it was right over $400,000. We did that 2 years ago.
40?
It was right over $400,000.
Yeah, and I think I've got the laptops.
For 40 access points?
Just for the access points, just for our wireless networks, $400,000.
So that's just the communication technology, that's not the laptop.
That's not flat.
My number has the laptops, I think, again, at 80 times 2 is 116. Yeah, I think it's around 350 for us, including roughly 75 to 80 laptop units at around 22,000, 2,500 each. Yeah. I might be off a little bit on that.
Question from question on the charging. Does that mean at any given time, you said you had 15 units, at any given time 4 or 5 units could be in the charging mode and not accessible to the clinicians?
Well, if it's plugged in, it still can be used. It's just not portable at that point. You have to unplug it to move it.
But it's not portable. You can't
Yeah.
take it into the room.
Right, which is one of the reasons why we found that they tend to stay right outside the room, because they're plugged in a lot, and people don't take the time to unplug them and use them in the room. So a typical thing that is involved is that the nurse will pick the meds out of the drawer that the pharmacy's delivered. She'll take those drawers to the bedside. Now, we've toyed with the idea of putting barcode bands on patients, but we haven't done that yet. So essentially, the first thing she does is she goes on the computer and she chooses the patient. In theory, she can visualize that patient. So it's still an area where an error could occur if they pick the wrong patient. Once they pick that patient, then they barcode that med, and the med does a check to make sure that med is on record for that patient, and it's the right dose, the right drug, and the right time. And we'll give her an okay or give her an alert. And if she accepts that at that point, then she's charged for the med. So there's still a possibility to go in the room, it could get dropped or it could get spit up and they've got to go get another one. But those things, those go on anyway all the time. Basically, you're checking all those pieces.
You should definitely talk to your facilities folks, get to be friends with the electricians. For our rounding parts, we have our tech support group do rounds. We have a centralized charging area, and they replace batteries unusually.
Plus, that's a great point, Tom. We had to have them put power where power wasn't. And that, part of the implementation process, you really need to get facilities involved to support the power implementation. And then you have to think through whether you want that on backup power or not, if your main power is out.
The other person you got to get with is the fire drill person. The person who, if you're using the cards, you got to get in with the people who run fire drills, because anytime the fire marshal walks by, they want hallways empty, and these do sit in the hallways in our facility quite often. So you got to sort of wine and dine that person.
Our side is a little different because our nurses units are sort of in circular, so we're really not in hallways, so it's less of an issue, but I hear your point, it's a good one.
Dean, while we're talking about breadth, by the way, talk to your biomedical people. Part of our process of new product coming into the facility is a test of radio frequency and interference issues. So there's a number of policy areas that you need to touch.
We'd like to thank Dean very much for this presentation. There's are there more questions for Dean?
Did we get to the physician part? I'm sorry. Our experience is that physicians, for the most part, think of it this way. The units at the bedside are primarily for data entry purposes. They're primarily for the RN to chart at the bedside. So therefore, the medication administration program, they're for the INOs, and they're for any assessments that they're charting while they're in the room. The doctors aren't using it for that purpose. They really aren't interacting with the unit in the rooms. Now, a few of them will go up and they will check on, we have lab values, we have other data in Care Manager that's available at the bedside. So we do have some experienced physicians who want to use that, and I don't know whether Jerry might comment or not relative to his experience, but for the most part, the doctors review the data at the bedside, at the nursing station. And there we have 17-inch monitors. with large chart review capabilities. They can graph and they can trend things. And that's our experience. They do interact with Care Manager a lot, but they don't interact with the wireless technology as much.
Thank you, Dean. One more quick question, and we would like to keep our panel moving. Bob?
Do any of the mobile carts have printers on them?
No printers. That's a whole other issue. We can talk about in a few minutes.
Dean, thank you very much for a very balanced presentation. Some of the pros of your wireless application, reducing medical errors against some of the real life pitfalls. It's a very balanced presentation, so thank you. Our next speaker, I'd like to introduce Steve Soros to Dean's left. Steve is the Regional Director of Information Systems at St. Mary's Health System in Knoxville. He's going to discuss some wireless systems that they've implemented down there that embrace, according to our notes, voice, computer, paging, and so forth, and patient monitoring. So please join me in welcoming Steve Soros.
Any other, I'll just lead off by saying any other year we'd have St. Mary's Health System in Knoxville, Tennessee on this slide, but we're not playing much football in Knoxville this year either, so we're downplaying that. But my presentation is going to go through what we are doing with wireless, I think, across a broad spectrum of uses. We have a very similar environment to Dean's environment, and with Care Manager and Star. We feel pretty good about that because those are the HBOC applications. You're familiar with all the, I think, trials and travails that HBOC has gone through in the past 4 or 5 years. Those are their go-forward applications, so I think we're in pretty good shape. So I think we have a real future to build on, both on the application and the wireless side. We basically have a lot of wireless and a long-term commitment to wireless. We put companion phones in, which the companion phones sit on our Nortel phone switch, and we put those in probably 8 years ago. So our nurses have had mobile phones in the hospital over the past 8 years. We don't have campus-wide wireless. It's really unit-based, and the net of it is, if you get in an elevator, you're going to lose your phone. If you get in an elevator, you're going to lose your networking, your PC networking connection. But we have a pretty comprehensive unit-based wireless technology on the phone. Nurse call paging is something that we implemented 2 years ago, and the reason we justified that was because we wanted to eliminate overhead paging. Patients were really getting interrupted, especially at night. Their sleep would get interrupted by all these overhead pages. So we've got an integrated nurse call paging system, and that's obviously paging is a wireless technology. Medical telemetry, St. Mary's was one of the first hospitals in the country to contract with HP for their Veridia system, and configure not only for the Veridia, but to configure that with an arrhythmia response center, to where we eliminated all the monitor techs on the floors. 96 beds are monitored over wireless medical networking, so that's a completely separate network from our data network. But that all resolved itself in the arrhythmia response center, and again, that's all tied into our nurse call and paging as well. Our clinical systems are Care Manager. Again, I think Dean did a great presentation on that, so almost everything he said really goes for St. Mary's as well. Registration systems, ultimately, once you get wireless in all the units, including the ED and the room civilian, you can really register a patient anywhere, especially if you've got an IP-based application package or system, such as the HBOC Star system. And then we do a lot of radio, and I just threw that in because everybody does a lot of radio, but we run into some peculiar issues with that over the course of the past 8 or 9 years. But for the most part, that's another video, an old standby wireless technology that your facilities folks are probably using every day. Again, the phones and paging are the Nortel companion. We get a lot of use out of those. Clinical leaders especially really like them because not only do we have that interaction where the doctor can call right back to the nurse, but our clinical leaders, when they're out and about on the floors, and a lot of our leaders now have to get out and pitch in with the team, can actually just forward their phone to their Nortel companion and really, I think they have a mobile office, at least on the voice side,